Okay, Drake here. Vblog. Sometime January, February, March. Well, wait, no, it's March 2nd. Guess February went by faster than I thought. I think March is Easter, I guess. Maybe time to look for some Easter toys and things like that. But I generally find good deals and post sales later, so who knows. But yeah, I would say somewhere along that line. Um, so a couple of updates, I guess. I don't know if I'm going to start more Drake toys. I have a few ideas for this summer, maybe adult size swim rings. But seeing the fact that Bed Bath and Beyond went under, and I'm seeing stuff on sale on Leslie Pool Supply, I might just drop the ball and say, roll off this month and just let this year go by. Work is getting on my back for productivity, which is kind of weird because I got a lot of stuff done last year. I looked at my shopping list and I bought a ton of stuff implemented. Probably going to go back there Monday after a few phone calls. I probably have to be back here early in the morning to make some phone calls to some vendors and get some stuff squared away. If those stuff gets squared away tomorrow, I can implement them and get them going and move on to the next thing. Um, so that's going to slow me down a little bit. There's one of them that I don't know if I'll carry on this just the subscription renewal or just do the perpetual. Perpetual license just means they stop bugging me every year, but this is the third year doing it, so I don't know really. Honestly, all this stuff is to the point where maybe I'll just cancel the subscription completely and just disperse those two machines that we don't need anymore, those auxiliary license, and then move off to other projects. There are more security monitoring and management projects and audit trails, and I like audit trails because I can sometimes search the audit trails to troubleshoot a problem. Audit trails and software of that nature generally aren't that expensive, but subscription-oriented products tend to cost more. They do offer a perpetual license, which is probably the best of the deal, but if you do upgrade your software, then you have to redo that license. So that's why I'm like kind of stuck on a little bit. I may have to make some phone calls about perpetual license to get some stuff squared away tomorrow. So, but other than that, it'll probably be really easy to switch out and shift back and forth. So, whatever, probably another day. This is kind of like 23. That was 2 years ago when I was working on that. So 24 had a quiet year. No, they didn't. No, 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 no. That wasn't a quiet year. I did a lot of work on 23. 24 slowed down. That's not my fault. That's the fault of the company. Um, for me, if there is a budget for me to meet, I'll meet 99% of it, and probably not to go run over it, but I'll know where it stands, where I can move some money around and find some ways around things. But I ain't gonna deal with a no blank budget. If you're not going to blank a budget, then I'm just going to go with subscriptions and let other people tell me what their value is worth now, because I'm not going to deal with this bullshit anymore. I know people who run into budgets, and I got a good friend of mine, which I'm doing a project with. I'm still debating on doing the camp. It sounds very entertaining. It sounds very exciting. The event is free. It's a burner event, so which means it's a Burning Man community. I'm about 50-50 in doing that stuff, about as much as I am with furry. And I've got a few stuff that might sell, and I'm still debating on even letting it go because the tail was pretty custom. And even though it wasn't exactly my style, I'm trying to find out if I really do want to get another tail made, because I've asked once before but never got a response. So I might just cancel the deal. Because if I have two of this from made by the same maker, it's the auxiliary ones are harder to realizing. I don't even know if I can even replace stuff like that anymore, because it came to a conclusion in my life that if a maker can't make two of the same thing, then why do I want to work with them? Because they're not interested. They're one of a kind, which is great. I love one of a kind item, but no backup is no backup. As they say from IT perspective, you better have a backup to a backup to a backup. So anyhow, that's my 5 minute spiel of life. Oh yeah, and last thing I got to do is I did manage to get into Waverly Hills. I need to get all the finance squared away. And there's Megaplex room blocks opening up on Wednesday, so if I manage to wake up at 8 and try to buy a room, I might buy a room. If I get a room, then I'll have a more better chance of wanting to stop through Florida for my Tennessee trip. So that will get that squared away by next week. If that's the case, then I have a smooth week ahead towards helping Wayne and his Drake's Cantina, which doesn't even have my character on it, so I'm not as interested anymore, honestly. I like my cartoony character, that's why. It's meant to be cartoony, kind of like Rick and Morty, yeah. So, with that kind of appeal, I'm not sure. I'm going to try to help him with the motion door. I got all the parts. Just got to build a really quick controller. I could probably do it Wednesday night. I think it's just an Arduino with a reversing relay output. I didn't buy the reversing relay yet, but I might just make one. It's just a double pull, double throw relay. But then I had a crazy idea that I looked around and I got a bunch of stepper motors. If you could figure out how to bolt those onto there, but it's foam, so I don't think you can bolt anything on. So the problem right now remains is building a track. And once we can get a track up there that you can slide the foam doors open and close, doesn't have to open much. I can get some pulleys installed on the PVC pipe, which is probably not the best place to install it, but I will have to have them make that area stiff somehow. And then the door itself will just slide back and forth. The reason why I'm not a big fan of the PVC is I was hoping he'd do a 2x4 wooden build, but then they changed it back to PVC on those doors, which means that it's flimsier, because PVC is meant to be flimsy. It's actually not rough, believe it or not. It's stiff as it'll go, but without any cross-member bars. The only thing that's holding it up is, let's say if you have a vertical PVC, you don't have a forward and reverse. So any panel that you put up, unless there's wind blowing at it, it won't survive the wind, first off. But it's very flimsy. So if you hang a door onto a frame, you're going to add torsion. So it's going to want to cave in this way. So I kind of know that, and I'm probably have to talk to him about that. I just wasn't ready at that moment because we were busy doing stuff that week. I was hoping to get with him next week, Friday, but he said he's got something planned till 9 in the morning. So I guess I'll have to come in as around lunchtime where we can figure it out and I can draw it out on the table and grab some snacks. I might even just say, if you could just put up a railing, maybe we'll just use some pull strings to pull it. And as long as you can pull it with some pulley, I can strap a motor to that somewhere, bolt it onto something. And the motor just has to wrap around a pulley. That's all. It's a very cheap way of doing it, but it's just for show. So that works perfectly. And twine, I have plenty of. I can get twine. As far as the motor goes, I've ordered a motor that might be too slow. It's 3.3 revolutions a minute. And I also have another motor on its way that's 10 times that. So the one that's 10 times is probably my best bet. But that's my $20 contribution already. Some people have put in 1,000, so I'm not going to say. But then moving on to other crazy ideas, the control box and all that stuff, I'm going to try to use the parts I have off shelf. Like for the motor driver, I might use a reversing relay with a power transistor. So the power transistor gives me the ability to turn on and off the motor. But at the same time, if I use PWM, I could drive the speed. So I can slow it down if I need to, like the acceleration or something along that line. I'm going to say that's the reason why I was trying to do it that way. Now, the second method that I have, and I just ordered some parts to try out, and I'm kind of stoked on it because I've done it before. If you ever work with 3D printers, you know they use stepping. They use stepper motors. They are motors. They provide motion, but they are actually operated differently. They use phasing instead. And the phasing, opposing phase, or they call monopolar or bipolar. They're just bipolar means you flip the polarity of the wires. Monopolar is that you have two windings wound on top. So you have a common wire, and then you can flip the polarity by switching the wires. That's all. The reason why is because at one point in time when we had our dot matrix printer era, if you remember, some of those printers going because they actually had steppings, but the computer had to create that pattern and had to delay enough because the computer clock runs way faster than the matrix on the printer. So I had to go move, print, move, print, move, print, move, print, move, print. So that's why you had that because it's the stepper motor and the computer is calculating how many steps it went and then send a pixel, step. So because of that slight little pattern, I mean, assuming it doesn't run out of, doesn't lose a step or miss a step, you generally have a pretty good shot. It's only in the more recent years they switched over to servos. And all that simply meant is you have a high-speed computer that has a counter and a ribbon, and the ribbon sees the counter spot and drops a drop of ink on your inkjet. So this way they can use a DC motor instead and have like a home sensor, a home position. I don't know how they're doing the home right now, but I do know there is a home position that it needs to find, and it'll find that home position and then swing the head back and forth, dropping ink on your paper. And because the fact it's servo based, which means the feedback is controlled by the ribbon cable, or not the photo ribbon, or whatever it is it uses, it can see that motion very fast. As a matter of fact, it's the same technique they use for measuring this digital rulers and all the other stuff. It's generally just a tiny little grayscale photo transistor. As a matter of fact, it kind of makes these things look like crap, but these do run on a similar principle. It's just your mouse originally, if you ever had a ball mouse back when I was younger, they actually did have wheels in them that had photo sensors in them before they went to optical. Someone figured out how to use camera image recognition and the surface texture pattern if it's moving one way or the other way across multiple pixels. And that actually became the new standard. And now I don't think you see any ball mouses anymore. I've got a few left over, and they were fun. The balls are kind of cool, and they had some weight to it. But after you've gotten used to these mouses, these work better. And for those of you who have touchpad is still known to glitch and sometimes catch. But that's about as far as I know, because I don't know too much of anything else here. So I got stuff that shipped in. I'll be shipping tomorrow. But I just wanted to make a nice little 10-minute update here that of life and everything. So yeah, I know I can tend to explain stuff, but yeah, I came from a different era. 1990, God, I miss those days. Okay, those days everything was so new. And then 2002, I guess when you became partially an adult in the 30s and you still wanted to have fun, anyone who sees this video blog, go out and be a furry. Who cares about the trans and all that stuff? Furry is just about having fun and being an animal. I do miss it. I really do. I barely go to a fur con, maybe once. I might drop into any fur con again. GSFC is at the end of the month. I was so close to going, but I don't have enough interest in room share with people, so I'm like, that's it. That's why the Florida one might be a bust for me as well too, because I got the paranormal stuff I want to do and get back into. Maybe just get into book writing or something more passive. But my life is changing so much because I'm stuck in shitty Southern California.